Welcome back. If you're new to the show, my name is Paul. I produce the podcast. I'm a journeyman lineman by trade. Raul, your host, is a journeyman lineman as well. Currently serves as Director of Operations T&D here at Sturgeon, California. You're in the right spot. This is the Power Element Podcast. Special guest today, in-studio guest, mind you. We're going to welcome back Codey Gandy. Codey's from Echelon Front. Codey's been on the podcast before, episode 52 last year. Be sure to go back and listen if you have not already. This episode, we get into Murphy's Law of Communication and Leadership. If you're not familiar, it's a spin from Murphy's Laws of Combat, which is a humorous take on how things go wrong in warfare or just the worst possible time. If you're not familiar, Jocko and JP Donnell go into this concept, this message, and highlight it on episode 376 of the Jocko Willing podcast. Check it out. All right, we'll get to our show. You're going to like this one. Promise you. But first, promotional partners. First up, Milwaukee Tool. Since the company began in 1924, Milwaukee Tool has led the industry in developing innovative solutions that deliver increased productivity and unmatched durability for professional construction users. Head on over to MilwaukeeTool.com or on Instagram at Milwaukee Tool for the latest and greatest. High Voltage Industries, the biggest brand on Instagram, showcasing all aspects of the high voltage industry. These guys have been working for nearly 10 years, showing the world on what we do and how the industry gets it done every day. Check out the Instagram page at highvoltage_industries. They have some of the best merch in the game at highvoltageindustries.com. Use promo code POWERELEMENT to get 10% off your order. That's Power Element, all caps, one word, 10% off. Do me a favor, be sure you're following them on Instagram so you can check out our collab, our rodeo team, and High Voltage Industries benchmark. We've collabed on a shirt this year. Let us know what you think. Super proud of it. Once again, High Voltage Industries. All right, big shout out. That music you're hearing, Daniel Sanchez, aka DSS Beats. You can find him on Spotify. He provides us with all our music. Put his linked information in the show notes. All right, do me a favor. If you're not already, follow us, like the episode, share, comment. Appreciate it. It means the world to us. Lets us know that our message is getting out there. Once again, give us a follow, give us a share. Appreciate it. All right, last but not least, I want to thank the entire Sturgeon, California workforce. Without you, this podcast would not be possible. All right, that's it. Get to the show. Codey Gandy, Echelon Front, Murphy's Laws of Communication and Leadership. Enjoy the show.
You know, an evening episode of the Power Element Podcast is not a bad idea, Paul, so thank you for putting this together. We haven't done one in the evening time, so this is going to be fun. I tell you what I do miss is that DSS Beats. Daniel Sanchez is not in studio today, so if he's listening to this, man, we love your music, appreciate everything you're doing, but we miss you in studio. That just something about his charisma. I miss you.
Yeah.
That kid is talented, dude.
Gonna miss him, but he's still helping us out on some stuff, so we're good.
Yeah. We're good, man.
Hold up.
Episode 86. Here we are.
You can contribute to the music, I think now, right?
What do you mean? You do tell.
The guitar. Is there something you want to tell us about?
I did. I'll let our guest in on the little secret here, but I did get a new guitar, a Gibson J45 Standard. It's okay of a guitar for your first one.
What do you know? We got a special surprise. Go ahead, bring it on in.
Yeah, bring it on in here. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Thanks to all my guys. We're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary here at Sturgeon since 2015, and I was surprised with that guitar from our guys that all chipped in and got me that present. So it was really, really cool to get that now. I can't play much. I mean, I've hammered out Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Happy Birthday to You, you name it. I'm pretty good at those, but I don't know, man. I'm going to try to get better at it.
Can we expect a Spotify?
Not anytime soon.
Coming out? Nothing?
Oh, we're not going there.
Man, I never seen you blush.
This is Kiehl's, bro. This isn't natural. This is all Kiehl's, but shout out to Kiehl's face wash now.
Damn.
No, here we are. So I want to, obviously Codey Gandy introduce our next guest. He's an alumni, Power Element Podcast alumni. He's been here before, episode 52?
50,
something like that.
54, June 19th.
54, something like that. He's been here before, Codey Gandy. He's the director of experiential training for Echelon Front. Excited to have him here. He's also going to be our keynote speaker again tomorrow at our leadership conference. So thank you for coming and welcome to the show again, my man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the opportunity and always a pleasure to see you guys and talk shop.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Also, military Marine veteran, 5-year combat leader. So, man, thank you for your service as always. And we love having you out here, dude. I know you help out other districts, other areas for Sturgeon Electric. Like I said before the podcast, you're like a household name for us now. So it's kind of cool.
I don't know about that, but I always appreciate helping out Sturgeon whenever I can.
No, we got a lot at it. So, guys, if you want to hear Codey's entire background, his history, you can go back to that episode. It's a great episode. I mean, a lot of leadership bombs dropped in that from him. But we're going to dive in and kind of break the ice with a quote, as we do, and we're going to talk a little about Murphy's Laws. So, go ahead and hit it there, Paul.
Cool. I got a quote. Yep, got a quote for you. Let's go. Achieve the intent in a manner best fitting reality. That was a quote no other than by Codey Gandy. Jocko Podcast 473, talking about balancing mission objective with real world conditions you are operating in. Raul and Codey with the question, how do you balance staying committed to your mission while adapting to the unpredictable realities of your work?
Oh, man. I'm not prepared for this one, so thank you for not telling me the quotes. Now I'm off the cuff. But anyways, I think you got to stay flexible. I think one of the things that I got out of that podcast with Codey and Jocko is you got to stay flexible. There's no perfect plan. I think anybody who goes in and tries to have the perfect plan, you're going to be disappointed. I also think if you stick to the plan so much and you're not flexible, then ego gets involved, and I think you're going to have even more problems. So I think you got to stay flexible. Be kind of liquid. You got to be able to adapt to certain conditions and take things as they come in. But I think you get an ultimate goal or the outcome you want to get to. I think you'll get there the same. And how you get there is you got to be liquid a little bit. That's kind of.
Codey, you got a chance to follow up something you said on a podcast with that 473. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, what I wrote down initially was that adaptability, to your point. I think personally as an individual, all encompassing is a concept of an open mind. And I think we struggle with that as individuals. We tend to be very closed off due to our experience, due to how we were raised, education, et cetera. We know what is right. And so when we walk into a job or with a client, I already know what to do and how to do it. And that's not true because things can change, things can switch. There's a lot of external variables involved that you can't control. And so being able to pivot, to your point, is a powerful thing that not a lot of people are good at. So having an open mind, adaptability, being fluid, to your point, is the name of the game from a leadership perspective.
Awesome. And it's good to see you, dude. I mean, straight up, it's awesome to see you again. I know you come out from Arizona and you take time away from your family, which I know we talked a little bit before this, and looking forward to having you here on this podcast and spending some time with you, dude.
Yes,
seriously.
sir. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yep. Well,
cool.
What's next, man? We're going to do a little spin, a little tailboard for Codey and our listeners. We're going to talk about the Murphy's Laws of Combat in a little different sense. We're going to do a little spin and specific to communication and leadership. And I think Paul's got some specific Murphy's Laws, and I don't know, what is Murphy's Law? Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on that, Paul, maybe?
Yeah. So I think it was brought to our attention by Jocko and JP. They had a podcast, 376. They broke down Murphy's Laws of Combat. Essentially, it's going to be a humorous yet brutally honest observation about the realities of warfare. They're not official doctrine, but they reflect the hard-earned truths from the battlefield where chaos and unpredictability and human errors are constant. So I think the goal with you and I, Raul, is to we've always kind of talked about this episode to do this one. I kind of threw it in there, a perfect opportunity for Codey to come in and tackle this. But we can find, I think there's similarities in our industry and the battlefield, so to speak. in that we can kind of develop a set of humorous guidelines to kind of help us through. What do you think?
So maybe a good way to kind of package that up is what can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah.
Is a good Murphy's Law. And I think to your point, whether it's on the battlefield or on a crew, like chaos don't care about the plan. Like when chaos starts kicking in, man, it's just, I guess it's inevitable. It's going to get worse. So I would love to sit here and go back and forth about the the battlefield versus the crew, or even just leadership or personal, in personal life, where those kind of pertain, and maybe our guys can get something out of it today. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yep.
And I think this is going to be the perfect opportunity to kind of let that breathe a little bit and have some fun with it too. I think you always say you got to have fun, you got to love what you do, and then the rest will take care of itself.
That's right. We got to have fun. We got to laugh.
Yeah.
No, there you are.
There it is.
All right.
I did my job.
Good, Codey? You got anything to add about that?
Yeah, no, this is a very common military thing that we often see.
Mm-hmm.
The Murphy's Laws of Combat are typically posted in your headquarters or your tactical operations center. And it is supposed to be this humorous thing, but it's also rather serious. And to me, as I look back and I hear a lot of the stories, it's just, themes from debriefs on what went wrong and being able to remind people of, you got to be careful of this. Like one of the major ones, you're not Superman. That's because when you're in a leadership role, people think they're naive to getting hurt. And it's just, I'm above the law and I can't get hurt. So a lot of these are harsh lessons from the battlefield, which now they kind of come off a little funny and comical. But what's at stake is a severe thing that we all realize in your world, in my world, it's all relative. And so I always, growing up in the Marine Corps, I saw these all the time. And at first glance, there are some funny ones, but if you really pull the thread on why they're there, it's to save lives. Because to your point, what can go wrong will go wrong. And it's all about planning contingencies and making sure you're doing the right thing at all times and all the above. So I'm really familiar with these. I saw them a lot. And when you guys brought it up, I was like, hell yeah, let's get into it.
Let's go. Isn't Murphy? That's a real guy, right? I think he's like an actual dude that back in the 1940s or whatever created something happened during engineering. I can't remember the whole story, but it's an actual guy.
I'll take your word, bro. I need my laptop here. I want a friend.
Daniel, check that out. Oh, Daniel's not here.
He's gone.
Dang it, Daniel. Awesome. Anyways, you're going to hit us with the first one.
Yeah, I got you. Unofficially, this podcast is sponsored by Jocko Go. Codey, thanks. Appreciate it, man. What flavor was this again?
Nitro Pop.
Nitro Pop. Pretty good.
That's one of the better ones for sure.
Good, man. All right, I like it. All right, first one. Here we go. No message survives first contact with the crew. The importance of clarity and the follow-up. Mr. Gandy.
So obviously in leadership, a huge element is being able to communicate. And look, we talk, we email, we text, we phone call all the time, but that doesn't mean we're a good communicator. I would argue majority of our problems stem from our inability to communicate effectively. At first glance, when I look at this law, oftentimes when I go observe, whether it's guys like you or just your typical white collar, blue collar, even in the military, when you have your foreman or your leader up front, they talk in a way that's very convenient for them, right? When I come up with a plan, it makes sense to me. And we often forget about the other people involved. And you have to take that into consideration. Because what I recognize now more than ever is great plans only matter if they can be actually understood, but better yet, implemented. And I think we forget about that. Because I have a great plan and I have great ideas, but if I communicate it ineffectively, then it doesn't really matter. Then it's just a good idea. I might as well put it on a shelf. Mm-hmm. And so understanding the dynamic that the plan is for the team. It's not for you to look how cool you are and how much experience you have. It's for the crew to do their job. And so I always understand that, hey, when I'm communicating to a team, whether it's you guys or just in general, my family in itself, is what does my team need to know? It's not what's convenient for me. What do I need to know? How cool am I going to sound? It's what does my team need to know to be successful? And when I understand it that way, I can actually make sure they do understand so they can effectively do their job. I think a lot of leaders struggle with that. And we end up tying a hand behind their back and just expecting them to do the job. And then it blows up in our face. And we're like, oh, well, how did that happen? I can show you. Like, let's look back and, oh, yeah, the plan sucked. Too complicated, too vague. You gave too much information, and then here we are. So that is what I typically see a lot of the times, this communication. I would argue majority of the problems that I hear at Echelon Front, 85, 90% are due to the fact that we can't communicate that well.
I'm going to ask a question to follow up to that. Just because I was thinking about this while you were talking, and what is a tactic when you realize your message isn't what you thought it was? Like, what's your tactic at that point? Like when you're like, I mean, whether it's a dazed look, whether it's maybe it's more questions than you had anticipated, or maybe it's complete silence.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
What is some of the tactics? Because I think that happens a lot back to the field. We may communicate and it could be completely silent. I mean, I think we got to learn that strategy or that black belt move, if you will, that says, this is time for me to ask a question. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's a couple of things. So if I'm in charge of a crew, if I'm in charge of a team, and I give a brief and I get a ton of questions, that's a red flag. They're not asking questions just for the sake of it. Like, they don't know what's going on. So if you get a bunch of questions, that's the time to pause and be like, why are they asking a bunch of questions? They want to be successful just like you do. So that's a red flag for me. Additionally, to your point, I think a lot of times in the military, I saw this a bunch. In your world, this probably happens all the time. To your point, we give a brief and then we just get this dazed look and it's like, everybody's good. And everybody's like,
yeah, we're good.
And in your eyes, you're like, there's no freaking way. Like, you didn't write anything down. Like, there's no way you know what's going on. And oftentimes leaders handle that, rather blunt and brash. It's, hey, Paul, what did I just say? Hey, Raul, tell me what you're going to do right now. And we handle it, not professionally. We kind of attack people and then they shut down. And then I'm never going to get to a place where people vocalize like, I don't know what to do. So I think when I understand human dynamics, to me, I talk about this a lot more lately than ever. It's a very real fear to look dumb in front of the other people. When you're confused, the last thing you're going to do is like, hey, Raul, like, I wasn't really paying attention. What did you say?
Yeah.
That's not what people do. What they do instead is I go, got it, man. And then I'm going to leave. You're going to leave the room and be like, hey, Paul, what the hell did Raul just say? Yeah. And now we're going to play this game of telephone. And the thing really gets jacked up. So to mitigate that, I mean, about the read back. The read back, in my opinion, is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's so simple, but it's so powerful. Again, why would you not want to be aligned before you actually go do the task? Again, it's a moment in time where I'm like, hey, Paul, real quick, hey, what's your crew going to be doing today? And I want to see right now up front if you know what's going on, because I can learn now or I can learn later. And when I've started to teach this concept to anybody, what I tell them is you're going to get the read back whether you do it or not. Meaning, I can ask Paul, hey, man, what are you going to do by Friday? Or if I don't ask, by Friday, I'm going to learn if you actually understood. And when it's Friday or it's on a site or it's, in the military, I would hate for you to learn after the fact that people aren't on the same page. Because when it's there, for you guys, like, there's a bunch of external stuff. You got the storms, you got the crews, you got all this stuff going on. That's the worst case scenario on like, oh man, we don't know what to do. So the read back, it takes you some time. It may be a little uncomfortable, but it saves you time, money, effort, resources, rework, friction down the road, all by stopping and have the conversation early and often.
Boom. Next question.
Not so fast there, Turbo.
Just kidding. No, I mean, well said, dude. Like, I was thinking of sitting here, I knew you were going to just kill that question because for us, it's a three-way communication, right? Like, for us, it's an easy tool. We talk about it all the time. You got three-way communication, right? And I think there's another piece of that, though, is the relationship piece, right? Like, if you have a good relationship with your crew, I see it, and we're getting really good at this because there are a lot of good relationships with our crews, right? Is they're okay to say, I don't know. They're okay to show the vulnerabilities, but then there are some times where the ego gets in place and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to even just raise my hand to ask another question. So I guess from our tool is, from my point of view on communication and is having a good relationship is what I get out of it. Because if you have a good relationship with that person, it's easy to communicate, I think, easier, I should say. But I also think the read back is huge, and approaching that read back not from a subordinate, boss type situation. Like, there's a strategic tactic on how to do that read back, right? And how do you ask earnest questions and, get your message across without seeming like a complete dick. You know what I mean? Like, tell me what I just told you, right? Like, there's different ways to approach that. So I think communication is so critical because if there's failure to communicate, I mean, it just gets worse from there. I think that's what this Murphy's Law is about. Like, if you're not communicating properly, worse can happen. So what's your thoughts?
I kind of actually spin it back to you and get your thought on it because I think for me, coming from your perspective, you would think if you're standing out in front of the safety meeting and you're giving something on your agenda, whether it's safety, whether it's efficiency, whether it's the way we're going to operate. If you're going to say it, your expectation might for it to be for the crews to kind of fall in line. But in reality, that's not it. Line work's a grind. You're going to have to keep leading it, keep feeding this new thing. Is there some value to that, you think? Or
there's value in it, but yeah, it's never going to take initially.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a new initiative or maybe something we've always done before, it's never going to take, and people learn differently too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not just the way we're discussing it. So maybe you got to show them. Maybe you got to show them multiple times. Maybe you got to get involved. You got to be that leader that's, gets in the middle of it and gets jiggy with it. Like, but I do think you have to know your audience too. Like, apprentice will learn different than a seasoned journeyman, and that conversation's different. Or a foreman's going to learn different than a general foreman, right? Like, we see this a lot when we get guys from the field and move them into the office, right? They got all the skills. They know how to build lines. They know how to. They can tell you exactly what to do, but to get it on the computer or to do the billing or do the closeout, it's a total different process. But it's part of it, right? So I think knowing your audience and knowing who you're communicating to is another key factor. And sometimes you have to adapt as a leader. I personally believe sometimes you have to adapt the way you do things, and it may hurt your ego a little bit to get your point across.
So it'd be safe to say, as a new leader, someone stepping into a leadership position that is maybe a little bit different, maybe a little uncomfortable at first, that the expectation shouldn't be to have that first idea, that first message stick, right? Yeah. I would think, hey, I'm the leader now. I'm the guy with the clipboard. I'm the guy with the tablet. Like, you're going to do what I say. You should understand what I say.
As far as just because of the hierarchy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's not the case. That's definitely not the world we live in now.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
Titles don't mean anything. Well, especially if you're in a good company. Like, really, we're all just people first. I think that's the main thing. But
cool.
Good follow-up question. Good.
I like it.
I still like Codey's answer better.
No, that's good. What do you think? You like this flow?
Yeah, it's 1-0. Codey 1, Raul 0. Paul, you don't.
I think Codey's gonna shut you out, bro. So.
I already know this.
All right, number 2.
What you got?
If it can be misunderstood, it will be. It's going to be over communicating versus assuming understanding. It kind of falls in line with number 1, but Codey, what you got?
A little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of similarities there. And, to Raul's point, read back through-way communication is the same thing. It's just called something different, right? And I think a huge reason why we use three-way communication is because you want to mitigate assumptions. Because oftentimes, I think a lot of people struggle with this is, here I am, I'm the subject matter expert, I'm in charge, I have the clipboard, to your point. And when I talk, like, it makes sense to me, therefore it should make sense to you.
Exactly.
That's not fair, though. And that's when a lot of people mess up. And it's just, I assume because it's simple to me, but just because it's simple to me doesn't mean it's simple to you. So that assumption piece, that's a huge reason why I teach readback or three-way communication. It mitigates assumptions. But more than anything, it maintains alignment. And that's all you should want to do, is maintain alignment with the people around you, whether that's at work, whether that's at home. Like, my goal in life is just to be aligned with people. But when you make assumptions, you tend to not be aligned, because assumptions, as we all know, tend to not work out really well. And the over-communicating piece, I have a lot of people when I ask them, like, hey, like, what's the issue? And I'll work through a problem inside an organization, whether it's at the field level or office level. And I'm like, what do you think we should do? Like, we just got to communicate more. I honestly don't think that's the answer. We're just adding more context, more fluff to a situation, which people have a hard time parsing through and understanding what actually is going on. So over-communicating is not the answer. It's just communicating effectively. And oftentimes that means less. It means talking less, just being more efficient with our words. And I think a big piece, and on this, it's not strictly tied to the law, but from a communication standpoint, is understanding the listening aspect. I think we're terrible listeners, especially nowadays. And I don't have my phone on me, but you're talking in a conversation, I pull up my phone, I'm already distracted. Or better yet, Paul has a point, I already have my opinion before you even close your mouth. And I don't even care what you say. It's like, I already know what I'm going to say. And so we have a short attention span. We suck at listening. But I was doing a virtual call earlier today, and we were teaching these guys how to have hard conversations, about performance management. So guys not living up to the standard, or just policy in general. And I talked to him about, hey, listening is a powerful thing, because when you truly listen to somebody, you really figure out what the issue is. So if I'm giving a brief and we're talking about communication, and Paul asked me a bunch of questions, if I truly listen to the questions, it shows me he doesn't know what's going on. But when I don't listen, when it's just words and I don't really care what you say, then I just like, hey, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out. And that's not what you want. So truly listening is a skill that not a lot of people have. But when you do that, you can really figure out what the main issue is, what to look for, what to watch out for, all those things in itself. So over-communicating is never the answer. You don't want to add more. Oftentimes it's less. The balance is, you can be too vague, you can be too much. You're trying to strike that balance. But I'll give a point to Raul, understanding that communication is not a one-size-fits-all. That's not fair to the team. And I think a lot of people struggle with, it's leadership and communication. This is not a 1 + 1 = 2. And what I mean by that is, if you're in charge of 2 people, 5 people, 100 people, what that potentially means is you have to communicate and lead that many different ways, which is a lot. And that's overwhelming. And I'm like, damn, that's too much. I'm just going to default to this. But if I have 100 people and I talk one way, I may catch 10 people or 50, but I leave 50 people out to dry. So being able to be fluid to your point and maneuver and do it the right way, that's how you get this whole concept, this whole cultural aspect kind of melted together.
A tendency for that would be, and not that I struggle with this, but I work at it, I guess, is, some may appear micromanaging by over communicating. So in your opinion, what would be the tactic or the move to over communicate, like you said, but not appears micromanaging? What would be the balance? What would be the tactic in that, in your opinion?
One of these laws talks about micromanagement.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's over there like, damn it.
Don't go yet.
Look, there's a time and place to micromanage.
Yeah.
And I teach leadership, and I'll tell you there's a time and place to micromanage. If I start for you tomorrow, are you going to micromanage me?
Yeah.
Yes.
You better, or I'm going to get somebody hurt or killed, right? Like that's where you start. But the goal is to let go. Mm-hmm. And so I know it's on here later on, but the balance is oftentimes we micromanage just because, we want to win, we want to be successful, and we care more than ever. But the more you restrict people, the more you show them that you don't care, which is kind of the opposite of what you're going for. So the idea is to let go, get them involved. And it shouldn't be I need to communicate more. It's I need to hear from them more. That's where the power is. People want to be heard. They want to talk. They want to be included. Rarely do people love being told what to do. That goes for adults. That goes for kids. They want, their own freedom of thought. They want to control their own destiny. Rarely do people like to be dictated and controlled. They want to be let go. There's a balance there, considering what's at stake and the risk, what you do and what I did. You can't just let people go and just run wholeheartedly. You still need oversight. And that's what a lot of people miss. I still need to support you if needed. I still need to know what's going on. That's the balance. But the goal is to let go overall, because that's the best way to kind of lead teams in itself, is to give them a voice, give them a play, and let them kind of do their own thing.
Save me some micromanagement. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Am I jumping ahead? I'm sorry. I thought it was a good spot to plug that in. But I'm terrible at his outline. I probably should read it. No. One of the things I was thinking about is, explaining the why, in your communication. And I've found some big time success here recently on, if a guy understands the why. We talked a little bit about with Alltech, Mark Finch, about, how just the basic stuff, how equipment is built. And understanding how much care, custody from the engineering perspective to get that piece out to you. This is not necessarily always cost, but just the pride in it, right? Like you might get a little better outcome on how the equipment's treated if the guys understand the why. And I think understanding the why and that purpose is another way of communicating that I'm trying to get better at, rather than just continuing saying the same message, but approaching it in a different way and pulling on that thread why. What do you think, Paul?
I like it. I couldn't agree with you more too. Yeah. I think, the easy button would be to say what you want done as a leader and to expect the work to be done in a manner that fits what you just said. But I think to you guys' point, what you're saying has been everyone's different. And as a leader, it's for you to communicate how someone's going to receive that information. So and explain that why. I think it's been helpful for me as someone who's receiving the information or trying to give direction.
Perfect.
Makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, this will be a fun one. I'm kind of interested about this one from Codey's perspective. And Rolls. Codey 2, Roll 0. The more urgent the message, the worse the timing. Staying calm and detached under pressure. Codey Gandy.
So as much as I love talking about the read back, detachment's my favorite thing to talk about. We do this. You guys have been to a muster. That's kind of my thing at the muster is detachment. But when I look at this specifically, there's a couple things that come to mind. So first and foremost is as a leader, you have this platform. And when things go wrong, which they will go wrong, the team's going to look to you. And so whether it's a message or it's a pivot or it's an actual safety thing, they're going to respond how you respond. And we have to understand that our attitudes are contagious. People are obsessed with, the human element. And if Paul's my boss, I want to see what Paul's made of. And when push comes to shove and the shit hits the fan, I'm going to watch you. And I'm going to judge you, and I'm going to take that, I'm going to run with that, and I'm either going to model it or I'm going to shy away from it. And so we got to understand when the stuff does hit the fan, which it will, what you do really cascades to the rest of the team. And there's a common quote on that, chaos is contagious, but so is calmness. But that's really hard to do. It's really easy to get wrapped up. And we talk a lot about detachment. And I've spun it lately to, why do we end up making the wrong decisions? Because part of this is, we want to remain calm so that we make the right decision. It's, hey, we need to go here instead of go there. We need to work on this project instead of this project. We need to prioritize this or prioritize that. Prioritizing next is all about decision making. Everybody makes the wrong decisions, not intentionally, right? Nobody's waking up like, man, I can't wait to get hurt today. I want the company to fail. That's not what people do. But why do people make the wrong decisions? To me, there's really 3 things that pull us in the wrong direction. And this is under detachment. It's ego, it's emotions, and it's our lack of perspective. I have my perspective, I have my experience, but it's not enough. I mean, the 3 of us in this room, if I only take what I know, I'm missing out on 2/3 of what potentially could go wrong. And so understanding those things do play a role. Those are the variables at stake. And when things do go wrong, the ego is going to tell you, hey, control, tell people what to do, micromanage, etc. Or the emotions are going to be, hey, tell that person the truth, hey, handle it with accountability, be the hammer, then be the nail. And then it works right now, but it backfires down the road. And so those are 3 things to consider when detaching in a stressful situation. And what I've started to talk about lately, and I really spin this at the FTX, the hands-on training that we run, is the goal in life is to operate a specific way in all context. Meaning when the shit hits the fan, you operate one way, but you also operate the same way when you win, when you're successful, etc. People don't do that though. And I've seen this play out 1,000 times where you, Paul, as an individual, when you're winning, when you're successful, you're this person. And when stuff sucks and you're miserable and stressed out, you're another person. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to be somebody that's very charismatic and now you're an asshole when you're stressed out. You don't want to be somebody that, has all the right ideas, but you shut down when you get stressed out. The goal is to merge those things, but stress is the ultimate kind of brings us down to reality.
Equalizer.
It's the equalizer. That's a big word I couldn't pronounce in the moment. And so to me, understanding, hey, we want to bridge this, we want to be the same person, those 3 things got to be in your calculus when making decisions. What is my ego saying? Because it's there, whether we want it or not. Everything we do, that whisper in your ear, that third party, that's your ego saying, you're right, Raul's wrong. You know what to do. This is what you should do. Emotions. We all have emotions, but we know emotional decisions get people hurt. They get people killed. In perspective, we don't seek perspective. We just stick to our own. And that tends to get us in a lot of hot water. So if you focus on those 3 things, you'll find yourself, regardless of the context, able to hopefully mitigate the stress or the problems involved.
So I've heard you say this before. That's really easy to say right there. And I've been involved, dude, I can tell I've been involved in situations where I'm trying to slow that time down, where you're like, okay, I know this is a situation. I hear that voice. I hear that ego talking. Hell, I just did this the other day with Paul, and we were talking about little stuff in our office, and I could feel it coming. I can hear it, right? What is a tactical move for our guys? Because we as students of extreme ownership, we talk about it all the time. You got to detach from the emotion. I told my daughter the other day before she got up on the tee box, babe, detach from the emotion. Like you got to slow the time down. What's a good way to do that, Codey? What's a good way to slow that time down and pull yourself out of the moment?
So as much as I wish there was like this advanced like thing you could wear and just beep, it's actually rather simple. But to your point, it's really hard.
Yes.
Leadership in itself is simple. It's hard because you're getting pulled in the opposite direction. So a couple of things on stress specifically. So the first one is mitigating the unknown. All right. And here's what I mean by that. So this is a lot of studies done by the military that I've gathered from the other instructors at Echelon Front. But the Navy specifically wanted to identify what stressed out SEALs the most. All right. This was another instructor, another SEAL told me this, and I'm stealing it since he's not here. But
Borrowing.
and so they're throwing the kitchen sink at these guys in training. It's bombs, it's blowing up, it's wounded people, all this stuff. And they have the heart rate monitors and they want to see like, hey, what really got them so we can mitigate that. And of all the stuff that they threw at them, what stressed them out the most was the moment they were lined up on a door, just like this, not knowing what's on the other side, that unknown aspect, that's when it was like peak stress.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah.
And so if you think about that out of a tactical scenario in life as a leader, your job is to mitigate the unknown or share the unknown. That's, hey, what the contingencies are, like what can we do in the chaos, like what can we feasibly do in this situation? Your job is to isolate that unknown and share it with the team so they're not facing that, because that's an external pressure that you can mitigate as an individual. So that's one thing.
So good.
Now you can't control
So
everything.
good. Yeah.
You can't control everything. There are things completely outside of your control, but a lot of stuff we actually can control.
Yeah. No.
The other piece to this, and again, this is a super advanced, sexy tactic, is simply taking a breath. So again, military, throw a bunch of money at, well, now that we know what the stressor is, well, how do we actually calm down? And of all the things, the gear, the training, the tactics, all the above, the easiest way to calm down in stress was to simply take a breath. And so there's a bunch of different breathing techniques you could think about. But the reality is, hey, just taking a moment, creating some space, taking a deep breath just gives you some clarity. Because to your point, the ego emotion, they just tend to cloud really our judgment.
Yeah, really.
And by just creating a little space, whether that's physically moving or just giving it a little bit of time, you can start to see a little clearer on, oh, this is what I need to do. Because the big thing for me on detachment, whether it's, kids' baseball game or at work and somebody's getting hurt or whatever it is detachment allows you to do what you need to do and not what you want to do. And those are two very different things. The want tends to get us in trouble, tends to be the wrong decision. And not for malicious reasons. It's, you're pulling at your heartstrings. The ego wants to win at all costs. And that's why we get in trouble. But the need is, I got to prioritize the right thing. I got to shut my mouth in this scenario. I got to let my team lead. That's a powerful thing in itself. And so the two very advanced things, communicating the why does help mitigate the unknown, or isolating that unknown and communicating it. And then just, hey, pausing for a second. It's that power pause does tend to give you some clarity before you make that decision.
Tell you guys, if you're not writing this shit down, you better get a little pad and paper, because this is some black belt shit right here. But so let me spin that though. I've also been successful in detaching, right? I've also saw the other side of it, and I've heard it. I've heard you, and I've heard the guys at Echelon Front continuously say it's a superpower. But not only is it a superpower when you detach, and I didn't believe this, but you can also tell the future. But it happened to me. You can almost pull yourself out of it. Once you're successful in it, it's amazing what happens, and then you already know how you're going to respond. It's like you can see the future, you can see the whole thing play out. But that piece right there about breathing and isolating the problem and communicating the why, dude, that's so good. So, man, appreciate that. What do you think, Paul? It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it goes. For me, it's even simpler than that. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Like Codey said, we're all fallible to his point, and we're going to make mistakes as leaders, as people. I like Jocko's example too. If the story goes right, it was during a battle, and he writes it down on the glass, the windshield, and it says, "Relax, look around, make a call." Yeah. Essentially, that's what it's coming down to. Take a breath, look around. What information can you gather, and make the call. As a leader, you're going to make the call. You're going to make the right call. Either way, anyways.
And also protects the relationship too,
yeah.
Right? Because this could do this at home, anywhere. You could damage some relationships pretty quick just with that ego and not detaching from the situation. Because now it's not even you basically. You don't want to respond that way. You don't want to damage relationships, especially with your family, right? And some of our guys are our family, right? I'm around this guy more than some people. So I apologize the other day, bro. I came at you the wrong way.
No, we're good. We're working through it, man.
We're students.
Yeah, we're good. To another point too, that we didn't really capture on. I think it's easy to get caught up in the fact that we always feel like it's urgent.
Yeah,
that's good. And in construction, it's easy because we didn't get the material. We take it personal, and it escalates your emotions, and it adds, it compounds. The outage is off. Someone did a door knock, and now the customers are mad, and now the temperature's heating up. Like, we always feel like it's personal, and it adds to the urgency. Is there anything to be said about that? Are we good?
I think you gain practice in it too. You know what I mean? Like, if you do that and you have practice, and you're like, man, I just screwed up, and you can like, open the kimono and say, you know what, dude, I just screwed up. I should have approached that differently. You just kind of gain some practice for the next time, because it's so, we don't want to be in these situations, but they're going to happen, especially in business, especially at home. Like, these situations are going to pop up. So the more you do it and the more you identify, it's like you get better at it. What's your thoughts, Codey?
That's how you learn a skill. So it
right?
With anything, whether it's communication or detachment specifically, you always start small. And I think people really miscalculate. Like, every day you have the opportunity to practice this detachment. Like, I was just in Chicago yesterday. I had some time at the airport. I grabbed some sushi at the airport.
Ooh, brave move.
Bold,
bro. Are you all right here?
And I'm watching this lady behind the counter just overwhelmed to a T, and everybody's pissing her off. She's not yelling and screaming, but she's just handling things very improperly. Yeah, and here I am. I'm like, I have no time. I have all the time in the world. It's not a big deal to me. And I'm like, hey, let's try this out. So I'm very respectful, very kind. And I'm like, I become like her favorite person at this little bar at the airport. Yeah. Why? Because it's just a small moment where I can practice this detaching. It's at the airport when the flight gets delayed, and you'll watch people blame the stewardess because of the weather. I'm like, what good is that going to do? Mm-hmm. Or, look, this is Southern California. You get in traffic, somebody cuts you off, and you want to show them how extensive your sign language is. And you're like, man, that felt really good. Like, no. If anything, what I recognize is, and this goes for a lot of people that I work with, the moment you don't detach and you get all riled up and you like kind of bear that emotion, that sticks with you. And you're all pissed off on the way to work, and then that just carries over to work, and then you're even more pissed off and you take it out on your team. Then you get home and you take it on the people you care about the most, all because you couldn't let something go, like somebody cutting you off.
Yeah.
And so to me, carrying that over like every day, there is probably hundreds of times you can detach. But I really like your point on the home dynamic. It's a hell of a lot harder there. And so I always tell people, the closer you are to the problem or the people involved, the harder it is to detach. But the silver lining and what's in it for you as an individual is, I remind people that if you can detach, it mitigates the regret in your life. Like, to your point, what you just talked about, we make mistakes, we treat people like shit, like we do all those things, and then what do? We feel bad about it. We regret it. This won't eliminate regret, but you will find yourself with less regret, which I think is what we all want. Because I don't want to treat my wife bad. I don't want to treat my kids bad. Does it happen? Because I get flustered and I just want them to go to bed, but they won't? Absolutely. But if I can in the moment be like, they're 6, they're 5, they're 3, like this is not that big of a deal. I treat things well. I leave there, because nobody likes to slam the door on their kids and be like, man, that felt really good. Like, no, you feel like an asshole, and then you regret it. And you're like, man, I got to make up for it. That sucks. That's a terrible feeling. And you carry with you that feeling all the time. And so this detachment, to your point, it can mitigate a lot of those things, which is a nice thing.
Yeah.
Stuff. I appreciate you, bro. That was good. That was good vulnerability about our conversation last week. But I think, too, we had the opportunity today to have a new conversation and grow utilizing extreme ownership principles. And I think we had a pretty good conversation today regarding something that happened in the workforce. You allowed me to plead my case, so to speak. I said, I disagree with you, Raul. And we worked it out. And I think
And I came out on top.
Yeah. Just kidding. Codey 3, Raul 1, and Paul 0. All right, there we go. Number 4. Oh, I like my shirt too.
Yeah, I like that.
4. The loudest voice isn't always the leader. Influence versus authority. Mr. Gandy.
I'll let Raul go first.
Oh,
I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this one.
Oh.
So I've worked around a lot from the field perspective.
Oh yeah.
You know, from the field, that's kind of the macho thing to do, is to be the loudest, right? I actually grew up that way. Like, the louder you were, the more you were heard, you know, and that's not always the case, I don't think. I think you could be maybe not necessarily quiet, but you don't have to be an asshole. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be obnoxious. You know, you can be humble, if you will. And I think that's the name of the game. I think on the crew, a good journeyman will show his skill with his actions and how he trains and how he leads and how he, you know, treats others. I think that's where we need to get to. I think the guy that's loud and, you know, kind of being obnoxious is not doesn't because he's the loudest doesn't mean he's the leader, excuse me. Like, I think you're going to find guys that naturally take those positions that, quite frankly, are a little bit more quiet and they stand back. I always can tell the guy in the room that's going to be the smartest because he's the last one to say something. Like, and usually he's listened to every single thing that he's, you know, is going on, whether it's a job briefing or if it's a, you know, whatever we're talking about in a meeting. And usually the last guy has processed everything, has got all the comments, and now he can really put his thoughts together like Codey's doing now, letting me ramble on. And he's gonna come in with the leadership bomb. But no, it's kind of like that, you know, like you're able to take it all in, and then you probably can come up with some pretty good things. You don't have to be the loudest. Mm-hmm.
I think to your point, a thing I remind people of is the more you talk, the less people listen. And so if you always have something to say, then you never really have anything to say. And that also goes from a leader and a subordinate standpoint, right? If you guys are my bosses and I always chime in and I always disagree with your plan, then really I don't ever have the ability to actually push back or have a conversation because of what I've done in the past. And I would hate for people to voice an opinion and they're right, but people refuse to listen because of what they've done in the past. So that happens a lot. Mm-hmm. This second bullet, though, this influence versus authority, there's this thread I've been talking on lately because it's huge in the military, first responders, you guys as well, where a lot of times just because you have the title means that you're entitled to a lot of things. Just because you're the foreman doesn't mean people have to listen to you. And I think we don't understand that. We think just because we are in charge, we have this title, we have the authority, that people are going to listen and do their job. That's not true. I'm sure you all could look back at your life and there was a leader and you're like, man, he may be in charge of me, but I don't give a damn about him. I don't trust him. I don't respect him. I don't listen to him. All the above. And so understanding you have this platform and what you do with it really dictates if you're a good leader or a bad leader. A leadership position and being a leader are two very different things. Because again, you have these titles, but you also have these guys down below, whether they're being an apprentice or journeyman, and they don't have a real title, but what they do, it matters, and they make all the difference by their actions and their influence, et cetera. And so a lot of times I think people really misconflate, hey, I am in charge, so guess what that means? My team does respect me. They do trust me. Like, no, you're not entitled to anything. You got to earn those things every single day. And so I think a lot of people miss that opportunity, and then they find themselves frustrated. And so whether it's a title or the other side of this is, hey, I've been here for 20 years, so that entitles me to an opinion or to be able to push back, or the team just respects me because I've been here for 20 years. That's not how this works, especially nowadays. Like, experience is important, but what you do in the moment, it matters a hell of a lot more. And I was talking to my wife about this the other day to spin this on a parenting aspect, just because I got 4 kids. You know, I did a lot of stuff in my past life. My kids don't care what I did. They care what I do. And I think as a leader in itself is, man, I'm whatever I am. I'm the CEO. I've been here for 20 years. Like, that's great and all. And that does add to it. But what you do right now will crush everything you've done in the past. And so I think a lot of people miscalculate that. Then they find themselves utterly frustrated. I'm like, why won't my team listen to me? I'm like, oh, I'll show you, because here you are. You're not doing anything to earn it. You're just demanding it.
I was putting together the opening, not the keynote, because you have that for tomorrow, but I do have a welcome speech tomorrow for our guys. And I just thought of it, and it's really not, it's about influence, you know, and the guy that's leading is not necessarily the loudest, you know, or kind of the most attention grabber, if you will. It's the guy that's doing the most influence on somebody. And when we talk about a new policy or procedure, or even just trying to improve in any space, like you're going to go after the guy who's influencing, because he's going to be able to influence others, right? And that's going to be the easiest, I say, tactic to do, but it's not always the loudest guy. It's the guy who you can tell he's got that swag, he's got the influence, because people look up to him. Good family man, you know, decent with the apprentices, knows line work. Like, those are the guys that are doing the influencing and may ask a question. He may be vulnerable at times too. So those are the guys that I think are going to be the true leaders, are the ones that can influence. So.
Well said.
What you got? Anything on that?
Yeah, I think culturally, military, my background being military, and then obviously line work as well. Culturally, could be perceived that the loudest is the one who has authority, the biggest, best, brightest idea. But I think the ones who understand leadership and communication is going to understand that influence piece is that bridge to getting the job done. Raul, you've always said that if you want to get buy-in, you got to create influence. When you create influence, you got to approach those influencers within the yard, within your organization, and make sure that they understand better, because they're going to be the ones who deliver your message, so to speak, at the crew level or at an organizational level.
You know, from another perspective, it's kind of funnier. Like, when you guys watch like old movies, like mafia movies, and you got the leader, the guy, you know, he's pretty cool. He's calm. He's like, usually talks the lowest, but when he talks, everybody listens. You know what I mean? He's not an asshole. He's not being, you know, the bounty hunter guy. He's the guy that just kind of really cool. Maybe he's got, you know, hot lady with him and whatever. Got a pile of pizzas right here, whatever. But he's, you know, he's real reserved. And I think because he's earned it too. You know, he's earned those levels through what he's accomplished during his career. So I think experience gets you there, influence gets you there. You know, I think you get that by making mistakes too and learning from them, like we're talking about now. So yeah, I think that's all of it. Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. A little Back to the Future, since Raul spoiled the micromanagement here.
Sorry.
Number 5.
Go for it again. I missed it. Sorry, buddy.
Drum roll, please. Micromanagement is mismanaged trust. Bullet point is how to build trust and empower others. Andy.
So if I go back to what I introduced, you know, when I think of micromanagement, and if you ask, you know, any company, regardless of occupation, there's always a negative connotation to micromanagement, right? It's, you know, there's no trust, you know, they want control, they got big egos, et cetera, which sure, that may be true. But I think a lot of the times, and you can look at it from your own perspective, you know, and I'll use my own life. The reason why I micromanage my kids, right? I micromanage my kids because I care. I care more than anything in the world. I want them to be successful. So I want to control what they're doing to make sure they're set up for success. And same with at work, like especially if you've built something or you've been there a while, like you want to succeed more than anything and you care more than they do. Thus, you want to be involved. You want to know what's going on. And so a lot of times we as leaders, we justify this micromanagement because like, man, Paul, I care so much about this job, this thing, like it's going to fall back on me. Like I want to help you. Thus, I get too involved and that does kind of diminish that trust. And so to me, a lot of times we justify that care. But the other side of this coin from that other perspective is the more that you're micromanaged, the more you feel like your leadership doesn't trust you. And if my leadership doesn't trust me, guess what they don't do? They don't care about me as well. And so I use my kids because I don't think there's a better example. This is decentralized command talking about trust and empowerment. I don't think there's a better example than parenting in itself, right? My goal as a parent is to be fully removed for my kids to be functioning adults for society. Like I need to be obsolete. I don't need to be in charge anymore. They can go do that. That should be at work as well. The goal isn't to be involved. The goal is to be up and out. The goal is to be, you're not needed anymore. And I know that might hurt some people's feelings, but like that's the name of the game. Like that's not your job anymore. It's to be up and out, looking big picture, mitigating risks, thinking strategically. And so with my kids right now, like we're 7, 6, 5, and 3. There's a ton of micromanaging. Like my 3-year-old crossing a street, like I'm not just going to let her cross the street. I have to learn to let go over time. But as my kids get older, and what we have to understand, and for your guys' world, you know, I want my kids, you want your guys in the moment to make the decision without you, because that's real life. We're not going to be everywhere to answer every call, to support everybody's need. Like when push comes to shove, they're going to have to make a decision. And I know as a parent, that time's coming sooner rather than later. I'm going to be competing with outside influences. My boys are going to get into some trouble, and they're going to have to make a decision right now. And I'm not going to be there. And it's going to happen real quick. And I want them to make the right decision because they believe it's the right thing to do. And so ironically, the best way I can show my kids that I care is not to micromanagement, is actually to let go. It's, I trust you so much. You go ahead and do whatever you need to do. I'm here to pick you back up. That is the ultimate form to showing somebody you trust them, is not to stay on top of them and control them. It's actually to let go, give them control. With the caveat that, hey, you are still overall responsible for what's going on. I think people miss the mark on that from an empowerment standpoint is, hey, Paul, go ahead and run this crew today. Hey, you're in charge. But when the pieces fall apart and you fail, like, hey, this is still on me and I want to pick it up with you. I think oftentimes we miss that. People hear decentralized command. It's like, oh, this is great. I don't have to do anything anymore. I just give it to Paul and it's like, go ahead, do whatever you want. That's not how this works. Like you're still overall responsible. Leadership isn't about control. It's about responsibility. But a huge piece of showing people that you trust them is to give them control. And that is realistically how you can set people up for success. Because again, you can't be everywhere at once. You're going to miss work. You're going to have all the above things happen. And the goal is to set your people up for success is, hey, Paul, you're going to go through that door. Whatever you face, you got it. That is the ultimate way to show somebody that you trust him is, dude, you got it. I'm here if you need me. You don't need me. I trust you. Go ahead and do that.
I kind of got lost in the sauce, man.
So the opposite of that, micromanagement, would be ownership, right? If you're sitting there and we're trying to get something done or accomplished, and you're the leader looking in to a task or looking into something, the culture we want to have, obviously, and we're trying to build, is everybody leads, everybody has ownership in it, which means I wouldn't have to micromanage it, right? I mean, you have to. I guess what I'm asking is, you have to find the balance in between still being involved, but letting go, like you said. And the person or the crew or whoever you're dealing with has the ownership of that, right, wrong, or indifferent. They own that task, right? So how would you manage that? How would you manage from the leadership perspective? How would you manage balancing that as far as not micromanaging, but giving them just enough leeway? Because then the tendency would be, oh, we're not getting any support, right? Like there's that mindset of, well, my boss isn't even involved. But the tactic would be, I want you to learn. I want you to fail a little bit within parameters. So how would you accomplish the balance of that? Because that's where I think most of us in the field struggle with it. Like I want the guys to have a culture of ownership of the equipment, the job, the planning, the execution. But then I send over a general foreman, or I send over safety ops observers. Our customer sends over safety observers to assist and be the second set of eyes. So how do you balance that so it doesn't look like, man, God, I'm just being micromanaged here? What do you think about that? How can we do that better?
Yeah, I think a huge piece is communicating what you're doing and why you're doing it up front. Mm-hmm. To your point, you can be too decentralized, which is you are naive to what actually is going on. That's when it's like, Raul doesn't care. He just sits in the office. He doesn't really do anything. That's when it comes off that way. And so as you're providing insight and support, it's, hey, I'm going to send Paul out there today. Here's why. Hey, look, I trust you, but there's certain things like I need to know. And so that's what we tend to miss is communicating, hey, you got the job, but hey, I got to check in on things. So providing oversight still needs to happen, but you don't need to be on the weeds and everything. That's really the difference. So you still got to know what's going on. You still need to proactively provide support. You don't want to be blind, walk in blind and be like, I really don't know what my crew is doing. Like, that's a terrible answer. So there's still oversight. There's still, you got to understand what's going on. You're still providing support. You just have to be able to package that up front. Because when you don't package that, and I just see Paul walking on my side, I'm like, what the hell is Paul doing here? Again, you don't communicate the why. You come to that, your own assumption, which typically is worst case scenario. Raul doesn't freaking trust me. Here's Paul again. Like, damn it, Paul, get away from me. And that's the culture that they create is he doesn't trust me, which tends to not be true. Like, there's certain things like you have to know. But when you don't communicate that, it's the whole comment on your why. We don't tell people why you're doing something. They'll come to that why on their own. Yeah. Typically that why is way the hell over there and the truth is right here. And it's like, how do we get here? Like, oh, just this simple thing was missed. So communicating up front can mitigate a lot of that. And to your point, you can be too decentralized, which is counterproductive. Because now it's my boss doesn't care, doesn't trust me. He's not even here anymore, which is not what you want as well.
Dude, one of the things I learned just going through the ranks up through the chain is that leading up the chain is so good at this part right here. So a crew or a general foreman leading up the chain to his boss on what he's got going on, so that the conversation and the why can happen. I found so much value now in my role right now. Leading up the chain is so much better than constantly my boss leading down to me. Because then I get the feeling of, man, he's just micromanaging, but there's certain things he needs to know. So I think, for our listeners, for our guys, like, it works both ways. If you don't want to be micromanaged, then lead up the chain a little bit, right? I think that's what I learned myself is sometimes you got to lean up the chain a little bit on what you're doing and what's going on and just come up with a certain cadence. It could be a text. It could be a call. It could be just a message, an email. Hey, this is what I got going on just today. Just to let you know, everything's good. Sometimes that's all you need. So I think that's a pretty cool tactic. Thank you for your spin on that. Thank you.
No, I think micromanaging, we get asked that question a bunch. And to your point, I always give a very simple answer, but people don't really want to hear it, right? Your boss wants more information, so what do? Just give him more information. It can be as simple as that, but people are like, well, he's asking because he doesn't trust me. Like, he needs to know what's going on, so you got to tell him what's going on. So if you can really parse through, like, why are you being micromanaged? That really gives you the foothold on where to go. Sometimes they want information, cool, give them information. Sometimes they actually don't trust you. Well, why don't they trust you? Well, and somebody will justify like, like 2 weeks ago I did this. I'm like, oh, well, no wonder. Like, they want to know what's going on. So now you need to prove that you're trustworthy. So a lot of times the answer is in the question. The ego does not listen to that. Like, it's just Raul. He's too prideful. He's arrogant. He wants to be involved. Like, he wants all the credit. I'm like, I don't really think that's true. But so when you can uncover the why, micromanaging can be a simple fix, but not a lot of people want to hear that.
And sometimes the leader, not to stick too much on this, Paul, because I know you want to get going, but
good.
Sometimes the leader has to create those opportunities. So we do a management meeting monthly. So instead of me bouncing around daily, like with my chicken with the head cut off, to each department and getting involved in everything, no, just a once a month, let's have a meeting about what's going on in your world, And sometimes if you don't have that, and Paul does it great with our branding and our marketing and what he's doing, and him and Megan do a great job. They put together a PowerPoint. What's our analytics? What's the traction? What's the next move? What do we got coming up next month? Like, I think those are strategic ways so that this micromanagement for the end user or the employees or the, whoever's involved in that, whether you're feeling that or not, sometimes those little tactics work, and it's not that hard. So anyways, I just want to throw that point. I'll give you a shout out too, because you and Megan do a great job.
Good stuff, man. I appreciate that because I feel like I struggle with this. I struggle in the field. I struggle at home. I struggle in this role now because I feel like if I can't communicate, I come from the attitude of I'm just going to do it myself. So my inability to communicate well or feel like I need to take the time to communicate my message thoroughly will lead me to just do it myself. And that doesn't solve anything. And it just kind of leads to maybe kicking the can down of my ability.
Yeah, and the last thing any manager wants to do, any leader, any supervisor, where your lead lineman, everyone leads, is choke the initiative.
Yeah.
Because now everybody's just stale. Everybody's just waiting to get the word. Nobody wants to grow and do anything different until the blessing comes down from the boss. Well, that ain't a good culture. I can tell you that right now. And especially in the environment we're in with our customers, our utilities, the trainings that are coming down and how impacted what's coming down the future for us. If we are all choked without having any initiative, man, it's going to be a long road to get to where we need to get to.
I like it.
Boom.
You got time for a few more?
Yeah.
You got gym? You got to take a pre-workout?
I got to go to the gym. I got to hit the back and biceps.
Oh, back and biceps?
I can see Codey ain't got no problem with back and biceps.
Yeah,
It's just a medium shirt. So.
Medium shirt. Rolling right along.
What you got?
Oh, it's a good one, man. I like this one.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get some bombs on this one.
Here we go.
If everyone's confused, you're probably the problem. Owning the message and its impact. Mr. Gandy.
Thank God.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier. As I get, if you two are on my crew and I'm the boss, there's just the three of us, and you two have 15 questions, it's not you, it's me. But I don't think we recognize it in the moment. It's like, man, like, how do they not understand? Because to me, 1 + 1 = 2. That's what it looks like in my head. But to you, this is advanced calculus, and you're like, I don't know what the hell is going on. Thus, there's a bunch of questions. So if everybody's questioning you or confused, that is a red flag. Like, I need to stop. I need to recognize what's going on. Additionally, you guys talked about three-way communication a little bit ago. I think we really have to understand, because it talks about ownership on this, the intent of the three-way communication, why we do it. So whether it's readback three-way communication, I give Paul a task and I'm like, hey, Paul, midnight tonight, you're going to go to building off 1 for simplicity purposes. At the end of this, again, we can make that assumption, or right now I can make sure that's what three-way communication is. So I stop before we leave. I'm like, hey, Paul, real quick. Hey, your piece of the mission, could you just talk through it real quick? And Paul says,
yes, let's do it.
okay. So Paul got it wrong. All right. Which works out.
Role play, my bad.
Role play. Good role play.
Sorry, terrible.
So in this moment, and this is like we drew it up, as a leader, when you're asking what the team's doing, whether it's three-way communication, readback, whatever you want to call it, the team's going to get it wrong, to Paul's point. So he played into it really well. How I respond right now will dictate what people do moving forward. If I come off the rails and like, damn it, Paul, like, dude, it's not that hard. It's not that simple. How are you confused? That's going to put you in a situation down the road where you're not going to want to say a damn thing. That's when you shut people down, and that's when you get that glazed over look, and you learn down the road, like, oh man, like I really jacked up. And so the intent of the readback is actually to check yourself. And I think people miss that. So when I'm up there and whether I'm briefing a combat mission or shoot with my kids, and I want to check, I'm checking if I communicated effectively. Because ironically, that's the only thing I can control. Simply put, I can either try to control how you listen or what I said. One of those is actually realistic, and that's what I say, what comes out of my mouth. So when people do mess up your brief, your plan, the agenda of the day, the quick fix is taking ownership of it. It's not them, it's you. You are the problem. And once you recognize that, it's a hell of a lot easier to fix. Because I can go out of my way and like, man, I got to train Paul how to freaking take notes, how to write stuff down, how to listen better. Or it's like, oh, well, Paul was confused. Why was he confused? Oh, well, I didn't do my job properly. So that's the ownership in this. And then when that is your true intent, really the byproduct of this is you start to create a culture where people, they want to ask questions because they know they're not going to get the gauntlet. They're not going to get, thrown out of the room. It's, man, the boss actually cares. He wants to know what's going on. Like, hey, actually, bro, like, I don't know what's going on. That's how you create a culture where people feel okay. It's really dependent on how you handle the miscommunication, which always stems from you as an individual. So you got to stop. You got to look internally, focus on what you can control, which is just you. But that's easier said than done.
You made a point, and confusion is actually feedback too. If you can accept it, and your ego, like to your point, like if your ego's talking, well, they know I'm gonna just walk away from it, and they're giving you feedback by being confused. And the other thing about it is, I noticed in a crew setting, could be military, battlefield, could be a crew, it's very contagious too. The confusion will set in on one person, and next thing you know, that person is confusing the other person is confusing that person. Now you got this, everybody's confused, which I think, to counterbalance or, to get past that attitude, it's difficult at that point. It's just going to continue to spiral unless leadership involves, gets, wedges yourself in there. So I think to have a culture of that is, we call it vague guidance. It's a trap for us. It's a human air trap, vague guidance from the field perspective. Like, there's certain tools, right? You got to have a questioning attitude. You got to have three-way communication, effective communication, peer check, self-check. All those tools are because of confusion, and it drives performance in a way, to me, that could cause some significant injuries or even a fatality. I mean, at the end of the day, so confusion, you gotta nip it in the bud. You gotta wedge yourself. You gotta check the ego and be like, I don't get it. What are we doing? Let's talk about it one more time. That is the hardest part to do, though. I think we're getting better at it as an industry as a whole, but I think we can get better at it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more confusion now too, considering the direction we're going as an industry. It's kind of all new. We're kind of building and learning as we go. So I think there's
we're
collaborative.
We're at the mercy of our clients too, right?
Yeah.
We go from one work type, all in, to another work type, all in, and then now the training gap needs to catch up because maybe you're not exposed to all of that same whatever work type you're getting into, and it's just not our industry; it's all industries.
Yep.
Keeping up with the times and having good leadership, and I truly believe, man, like you got to be able to say, I don't know, be vulnerable. Have a conversation versus just assuming and causing confusion because you're just going to confuse others. Easy to say, hard to do, like my man says.
That was confusing.
I think that on that I don't know piece, it's okay to say I don't know. If you don't know, like you can either fake it till you make it, which don't be naive. People know you don't know.
Yeah.
So you lose trust, respect, all those things.
Yeah.
I think to finish that statement though, it's okay to say I don't know. It's not okay to not find out. And I think to your point, that training gap, like there's a lot going on. You guys are switching different clients, different whatever it is. And sometimes it is overwhelming and it is powerful to say, hey, Paul, like I actually don't know right now, but I'm going to find out or I'm going to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you are the leader that always says, I don't know, then it's like, what the hell does Paul actually know? And now it's kind of counterproductive. And now you are losing trust, respect, influence at the end of the day if you don't follow up with that.
Boom.
Pretty cool. I just gave Codey Gandy a perfect example of this. Silences feedback too. Codey pitches the role play.
Ask you a question.
And I just went deer in the headlights. Oh, it's my turn. We kind of covered this on number 1. You guys kind of got into silence. But silences feedback, bullet point is reading the room and nonverbal cues. Anything to add to that, gentlemen? Up for grabs? Ooh. Gentlemen's
he just kind of gave me the wink. I kind of like that wink.
It was a wink with a nod.
Your shot, kid. No, I think being silent, I don't know. For me, it's like, sometimes it's hard for me, just I guess throw some vulnerability out there. Like sometimes it's hard for me to see like what the silence is actually telling me. Is the person processing it? Do they agree with me, disagree with me? So for me to engage into the silence is where I try to be a smarter leader. Because sometimes if I just keep talking and talking and talking over somebody, then I'm not listening. So the silence sometimes is actually a good thing. Gives the person time to process it, like what you were doing. I mean, you were processing his question. No hard feelings. But so I think I don't know. It's how to adjust the signs, I guess, from the other person. I don't know. It's kind of difficult for me.
Something I know, sorry, Codey.
Yeah.
Is notice with you as during safety meetings, you always kind of lead with a joke and kind of break that silence with the feedback with the joke, and it kind of like sets the tone. Story,
yeah. I mean, I try to break it. I mean, I'm gonna do it tomorrow too, and I do like to break the silence, get the guys feeling comfortable around me, and that's just something I've learned along the way. It helps. I've listened to a lot of speakers, done a lot of trainings, and it seems like when you get the kind of a laugh to start, kind of just maybe not I tell terrible jokes, by the way. So it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, he's being Raul, like he's one of us. That's the feeling I get, but I could be wrong.
I was going to say, if there's any moonlighting opportunity for you at an open mic night, please don't take it.
No, I'm not going to take it. I ain't no Dave Chappelle, bro. That's for sure.
Codey Gandy, what you got, brother?
Yeah, the only thing to that, you can open up the silence. I think another thing, and you could thread in the 3-way communication to that, is getting people involved as well. Just because you're in charge and you're leading the safety brief doesn't mean you can't get people involved. And that's a very unique way because, again, you as a leader, you have your platform and you have your influence. But if there's 50 people in the room and now I'm like, hey, Paul, could you actually cover your piece? Or, hey, Paul's going to lead this today. You never know. And I think as leaders, you got to understand you have a net that you cast that hits certain people. And that's why it's always beneficial to come from a team standpoint. Because if I talk and Paul talks and Raul talks and we're casting a wide net where we can hit everybody. Because some people flat out just don't like you. And so you can't just think that, oh yeah, just because I'm the boss, like everybody's going to listen to me. The more you can get people included, specifically downstream, you hear a different voice. It's other people that they respect or want to listen to. That's how you can, indirectly, directly break that silence by getting other people involved in it as well. Because to your point, you want to break that up. And sometimes it's for a good reason. They are confused. Sometimes they are processing it. Sometimes that's just the way they are. Like, you don't know. But to break it up or get people involved, I think that's a huge thing to do. Again, to make sure that we're aligned once we leave whatever we're doing.
I think we got to do better too, though. To your point, is I've noticed some really good speakers, right? And when they're trying to, like, their cadence is like really good and good to that point that they want to make. Clayton's really good at it. Shout out to Clayton, our superintendent. You'll hear him speak tomorrow. He's really good at his cadence. Like, he can get you dialed in. And he even kind of slows it down, and then boom, hits his point. Like, he's a really good speaker. And I think, it's not easy, man. Like, I think if you could learn those skills, those little things along the way. I do worry about to kind of spin this to home. Like, when people are quiet all the time at home, that's like you're emotionally withdrawn now. Like, something's going on. Like, something's going on. Why are you so quiet? And those people. And I think, with mental health and things that are going on throughout our lives, like, you got to wedge yourself in there. Like, why is this guy so quiet? Like, what's going on? Is there something you want to talk about? Like, sometimes those real conversations will help, break that ice. So.
Yeah. I think it's asking good questions too.
Yeah.
Right. If there is silence or you feel like to kind of go down this thread of you see something wrong. A lot of times we ask very generic questions like, hey, are you good? And it's a yes or no. Right. Yeah. I learned this a long time ago with my kids specifically. Like, hey, how was school? You don't open the door at all. They're going to say good or bad. And then maybe if they say bad, you can say it. But most of the time kids just say good. And then
good, yeah.
There's just no dialogue and you don't really get to dive into stuff and you actually don't know what's going on. So asking good questions when there is silence, that can really bridge the gap. So you start to understand, like, why is this silence taking place? To your point, it's for a real reason. It's not for a reason. Those questions kind of deliver what path to take on that.
Dude, my teenager, I'm trying that skill and I just can't seem to win. I mean, thank God there's certain things that we align on. Golf is one of them. We talk about that, or practices, and like, you can start those conversations. Or as soon as I see she's into something, like what is this Trader Joe's bag that I got? You see it hanging in my office. Like, got to get the new Trader Joe's bag. It's a Halloween edition, whatever.
What?
Yeah, dude, you don't know.
That's a thing.
It's a thing, bro. But anyways, it's like, you could use that in life too, in business as well. Like, sometimes you got to see what the other person's into to really get behind the scenes on why they're quiet. Right? Because you just bring up something, I don't know, Paul, I know he likes barbecuing. He likes golf. He's like certain things. So I'm going to say, hey, man, did you catch the match this weekend? Like, to your point, that's a great point. Like, sometimes it's not how are you doing, but I know this guy's into something. I'm going to ask him how that was. Maybe you can get some conversation that way. Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Dude,
good stuff.
I want to share a good one. Our buddy, Dan Jameson.
What's up, Dan?
He tried calling me early in the day. I was busy yesterday. I couldn't take it. Anyways, I didn't think to call him back. Bad friend. Anyways, I'm still amped up. We're leading up to International Lineman's Rodeo here. Big week. Codey coming on. Everything's. I'm feeling the pressure from my perspective. I'm feeling the stressors. Dan calls and is just like, "Hey, I just want to know if there's anything I can do to help. I know it's a busy week for you. You're always amped up this week." And I'm like, it just totally changed my mood. And I was like, dude, like, what a guy. Like, he's got a busy week. He's preparing his family to go travel too. And he's just like, well, what do you need, bro? And I'm like, dude, you are a guy. Anyways, I thought it was cool. It totally changed my perspective. It kind of calmed me down, got me out of my funk. And I was like, dude, Dan, thanks. Like, I could have easily just had my phone off on the counter and not take your call and just continued down my path, but you totally changed it. So
pretty awesome. Good stuff.
All right, last one. You still got time? Or the bicep is a pre-workout setting?
Okay, yeah.
Good. All right, this one's going to be cool. We're going to end this one on a high note. I'm going to switch cameras. Leadership is caught, not taught. Let me make sure I phrase that. Leadership is caught, not taught. Modeling behavior over preaching. We'll go with Raul and maybe Codey can just knock this out of the park.
Yeah, let's do that. And I'll go first. Yeah, I think it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate through actions. I think that's pretty much sums it up for me. Like, when I heard that, like, if you want to influence, you got to show through actions. If you want the crew or the company to have a certain culture, then you gotta do that yourself. So I think you can preach all you want, but if you're not acting it, you're not acting the walking the walk, talking the talk, then you're not going to influence at all. So I'll leave it at that and let Codey finish it off.
I did see that quote in the hallway.
Did you see that?
By the way, I did.
He wrote it down.
I sent it to Jocko.
Yep.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, I think a huge thing we miss is often we know like what to say, but that only goes so far. And if I'm only preaching, only talking, and you're not walking, then you're a hypocrite more than anything. And then it's counterproductive. Then you're really going to spur people in itself. So I always like to remind people, I heard this, it was on a different podcast than you guys.
Whoa. What?
Wasn't as
You
good.
cheated on us?
And this guy was talking about leadership, and he talked about it from really a 360 approach, and how it's, you lead your peers, you lead up the chain, and you lead down the chain, which I agree with. But I think there's one missing, and that's leading yourself. And I think we often, when talking about leadership specifically, it's always about everybody else. It's like, how do I get my team to abide by the standard? Man, my peers aren't doing this. My leadership doesn't trust me. We're always focused on everybody else, and we miss out on the opportunities that we have. Because again, being good at the job is it's not good enough. There's a whole lot more to it. And so if you don't do these things, whether it's the three-way communication or be vulnerable and ask questions or even simply take an ownership, you can't expect other people to do that. And I think a lot of times, just because we are in charge, we have this expectation that once I say this, I give them the book, I write this new policy, like they're going to do it. That's not how this works. They're going to look to you. And when I look back at, I'll just look back at my life, and I'm sure you guys would agree, really in life, we're not a product of ourselves, we're a product of other people. And I've had a lot of great leaders and a lot of bad leaders. And what we do is we take the best practices and we make sure not to do the worst ones. And so who we are today is a culmination of the things we like and the things we don't like, and that's who we are today. And so for me, you gotta not underestimate the burden that you have on, you're being watched, you're being judged with everything that you do. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's good if you're doing the right thing. It's a bad thing if you're not doing the right thing, because people are watching and they're going to judge and they're going to see what's going on. So don't miscalculate this platform that you have, regardless if you have a title or not. Like, people are going to know. And to me, that's how you really cultivate influence or change a culture in itself, is by you modeling behavior. That's where this all starts. Because if you don't do this, any of this stuff, then the team simply won't. They'll look at you and be like, hey, that's great and all, but I'm not going to follow suit. And I get that comment all the time when I go teach. I'll go teach upstream leadership, like the C-suite level. And they're like, this is great, but when's the team coming through? And I'm like, that's not what this is about. Or vice versa. I'll talk to the team and like, this is great, but when's my boss going to come through? I'm like, that's great, man. But like, this starts and ends with you. If you don't do these things, you can't expect other people to do it. So simply put, don't be a hypocrite. Otherwise, don't expect things to happen.
So if you're a young leader and, you're practicing good habits, right? You're like, okay, dude, I'm on board. Like this, what Codey, Raul and Paul's podcast, it's going to change the way I am, and people are going to see my good habits so I can influence my team. How do you ensure that those habits are being caught though? Like, how do you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could sit there and spin your wheels and you can continue to build good habits. You just assume, or what's the tactical way to make sure that's accomplished? Is it just doing more of it, or saying, hey, I'm doing a good habit here, guys. Everybody look at me. What do you think a good tactic?
If you want to see if your habits are translating, or I got this question the other day, it was, how do I tell if my team actually trusts me? So kind of same concept, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's not going to be what they say, it's what they do, right? So how do I know if Paul actually trusts me? It's not Paul saying like, hey, I trust you, man. Like, that's great and all, but I'm sure a lot of people have said that. But the actions on what you do down the road, that will really dictate, Paul actually does trust me or he doesn't. So same with the habits as well. If you're truly doing these the right way for the right reasons and you have really good relationships, influence will come. That's just how this works. You got to thread in there being good at your job. Being good at your job is hard to ignore, and I say that in the best way possible. But you also have to understand time. Time is part of this equation. Just because you take ownership today doesn't mean the team's going to take ownership tomorrow. Like, this does take some time to cultivate, but over time, understanding that's when you start to get people. You also got to understand it's not for everybody. Just because you have a team of 5, 10, you run a company of 50 people, not everybody's going to do these things. That's just not how this works. That's the human element. That's the unfortunate reality of people, is some people will refuse to do it. That's okay though. Like, you don't need everybody. You get a small group of people that are pulling that culture the right way, like that will make all the difference. So to me, it's not, you still got to do these things, obviously. Be good at the job, be humble, have an open mind. But what will show you if you're doing the right thing is people will start to model that as well. And you can teach it, obviously, but the proof is, man, Paul's starting to do this as well. Man, he's doing that three-way communication. I do that as well. That's when it shows proof of concept. That's what I would look out for. That's the green flag for me on, and I'm doing this the right way.
Like, you got to go and see. Sometimes you just got to observe, see how your people are acting, and put them in positions so they can learn, right? I think actually Jocko puts it well. That intent has a smell. It's big. It's huge, right? Like, good or bad. Yeah. So if your intention is good, in my opinion, the way I process that in my mind is, if my intention is to, have good habits influence others. Hopefully I continue to have that good intention. People are going to pick up on it versus me telling them and doing everything that, going that route. So, no, good stuff, dude. What else you got? What else? Is that it? You done?
2.0, we got to save it for
2.0.
CG EPO2 there.
Is that the last one?
That's it, man.
Okay, so I want to transition to something really quick. Just a couple more minutes. Because obviously Codey's out here, and I want to give him some kudos and just some credit. So this is our second time Codey coming out as for our Field Leadership Academy. The first time we did a keynote. We did a kind of a interactive discussion, which if you haven't had Codey build you a stretcher, boys, you got to get some of that action. That's dope. You really learn about your tendencies, and I thought that was I loved it. We learned so much about ourselves and about our company and our leaders during that exercise, but this go around, there was a little bit different. I want to talk through it because I thought it was really phenomenal and really added good piece. I know it's new. It's the culture survey being sent out prior to you coming out to do our keynote. Can you talk through that process? Because I think our listeners and we have our companies and our executives love to hear that whole process. Because let me just tell you the result. The result for me was we got some work to do, and we do some things really well too. So it really helped me focus on where the culture, because you can talk about the culture and you can, we can sit here and think what it is, but to actually get a culture survey out before Codey comes out so he knows where we need help is phenomenal, dude. So I don't know who came up with that. Awesome. Great work, dude. You want to talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So oftentimes when I go on site, we're doing I teach people or individuals or small teams, and we'll do like a rough self-assessment, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, Paul, where are you at? Like, how good of a leader are you? How well do you communicate, et cetera? And we'll fill this all out. Now, that does tend to be biased, right? Because as you fill this out, you're like, oh man, that's a red freaking bubble. I don't want to put that. And you'll scratch off words, and people do all kinds of crazy stuff. And so that self-assessment is powerful. And I would argue you should constantly self-assess as an individual because you're in everything that you do. You know why you do things. Being honest with yourself, that's another part of this. And so we developed that really early on. Powerful tool. From there, I often, as I get introduced to a client and Raul comes into the making, it's like, hey man, I want you to come talk to my team. Often my POC, my point of contact, will kind of dictate the theme, which I'm all for it. You know your organization way better than I do. And you'll be like, hey, let's focus on relationships, or this is our issue, which is great. But again, that's a biased perspective as well. And so we started to cultivate, well, how do we actually see what the truth is? What are the big problems inside an organization? And we came up with it's called an OBA, Organizational Balance Assessment, where it's a culture survey. So now it's not sent to the C-suite or to the manager, it's sent to the whole team. And now the opinions are backed by the team, not just by you. Mm-hmm. And so now we really get, okay, what are the actual tendencies, not from your perspective, but from the team's perspective? Because if this training is for the team and that's the investment that we're making, we want to make sure we hit the mark. And so that's the power of this, is now it gives me granularly like where to start. Instead of just guessing, man, I think communication's the issue. I just worked with, another group of linemen. This was their issue. Now I actually have data to show me, oh, we need to focus on this. We need to focus on this. Hey, they're crushing this. And as we talked about it, there's a lot of things you guys are doing great. Mm-hmm. Performing under stress, which in my opinion, like if you're not doing that, then like that's where we got to start, all things considered. The empowerment piece, the relationship piece. And so it's a great deal for me to understand context, but for you guys as well, because you have your perspective. You have your perception on what's going on, but the perspective that matters is the team. What do they care about? What is missing from their perspective? That's what we want to focus on. And so having that data for me selfishly gives me a leg up because I know where to focus on in the training rather than just generically talking about everything. It's, hey, let's focus on this piece because this is what the team wants to hear. This is what they want to fix. And that's how you actually solve the problems at hand.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, it was unique when you threw that out on our call. I was like, let's do that. Because I think that's the best way to, through the user's lens, we always talk about, what is the actual perception from the field and where do we need to get some training and what better way to hear it from them. So a lot of good stuff, dude. You guys are doing some big things over there. We partner with you all the time. Paul, you did an awesome job today. Thank you for what you put together. I know you had a lot of effort into that, and we've been wanting this episode a long time. And I think no better the person to do it with than Codey. So awesome.
Yeah. No.
Anything else to add?
No, I don't. I appreciate. I kind of appreciate us coming up with this, the courage to kind of just trying to dive in this and to kind of make it relatable to our industry. I think our industry can kind of benefit from a message like this. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to kind of be lighthearted, but like Codey mentioned, it's supposed to be serious at some aspects. So I think this is kind of a cool little shift, a little out of our normal kind of podcast realm. But I want to do it again. I want to challenge either Codey or another Echelon Front instructor, same style. Be good.
Boom. Awesome. Codey, we're going to get out of here. Again, dude, I had to tell you, appreciate you coming on this podcast. I know it's not part of the routine, but you always make an effort to come in here and say and see us and spend a conversation with us, dude. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, dude.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Yeah, it's awesome. Got to thank our guests. Again, thank you. Is there anything last comment you want to add, or where can people find you? If you're not hooked up with Echelon Front, you're missing out. So get hooked up with Echelon Front. Codey Gandy, Director of Experiential Training, does it all. Where can people find you, bro?
I'm on the gram.
That's
about it. With 4 kids and 200 days of travel, that's about it. But simply put, echelonfront.com. Do want to give a shout out for Paul for playing in that role play and messing that up on purpose. I really appreciate that.
See, I knew we could break that. Get the comedy out in Codey for sure.
Hey, that was well deserved.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Silence's feedback too.
Silence is feedback. Paul, awesome job. Codey, looking forward to tomorrow, dude. Really am. So thank you again for coming out. Got to thank all our listeners. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. If you like this episode, give us a like, give us a comment, let us know how we're doing. Paul was working his ass off on this, so give us a comment. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Got to thank our promotional partners.
I don't have them up.
He doesn't have them up, but we're gonna have to go just raw dog style here. Milwaukee Tool. Got to thank Milwaukee Tool. We're gonna see all our guys at the International Lineman's Rodeo coming up, which is gonna be super dope. We got an expo. Do you know our booth number?
Nope.
Don't know the booth number. We're written at Raw Dog today, but check us out at the expo, guys. When is this gonna drop? When are you gonna drop this episode?
Probably a week after.
A week after. Let's try to get it out earlier.
I got you.
High Voltage Industries got the green hat today. Just a shout out to all our military guys. You got the green shirt on.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
To honor those.
Got to thank all our guys. Who am I missing? Klein Tools. Thank you guys for helping us out with Foreman Crew of the Month. Doing an awesome job with that partnership. Wye Delta is going to do some stuff for us here at the International as well. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you for what you do. Got to thank the entire Sturgeon Electric California workforce, because without you, this podcast is not possible. Straight up, guys, we appreciate all the work you're doing. So thank you.